Once upon a time, the Disney logo meant magic. It meant quality. It meant sitting in front of your old box TV as a kid clutching a bowl of cereal waiting for the castle to appear and the music to play before you were transported into a world that actually felt like it cared. But now when you see that logo, a lot of fans don't feel wonder. They feel dread. And let's be honest. For the last few years, Disney kinda sucks. We're not just talking about a bad movie or two. Everyone drops the ball. But Disney, it dropped the ball, kicked it into traffic, and blamed the fans for not clapping hard enough. And it's not just us saying that. It's the very actors, writers, animators, and fans who used to worship the brand. Something shifted, something broke, and no amount of CGI lions or multiverse portals can distract from it. Let's start with the live-action remakes. Remember when The Lion King was announced as a photorealistic reimagining? The hype was real, until we realized they were removing literally everything that made the original work. Beyoncé was there, Donald Glover was there. But guess who wasn't? Emotion. You can have a tear-jerking moment when the CGI lions have the facial expressions of a taxidermy exhibit. It looked incredible. It felt like cardboard. That's the Disney curse. Now it's shiny, expensive, and completely hollow. Then there was The Little Mermaid. Halle Bailey gave it her soul. And the girl can sing? No question. But she was trapped inside a movie that didn't know what it wanted to be. The color grading made underwater scenes look like oil spills. The animal sidekicks looked like they crawled out of a horror film. And the jokes? Let's just say the ocean wasn't the only thing with dead fish. But the worst part isn't the quality drop, it's the attitude. Disney used to take pride in storytelling. Now it treats stories like products. You can see it in how they rush sequels, erase original creators, and throw new projects onto Disney Plus like digital cannon fodder. Remember when Pixar films used to be sacred theatrical events? Now they get dumped onto streaming with zero build-up, zero marketing. And somehow, we re-expected to pretend that Lightyear wasn't a complete identity crisis in motion. Chris Evans took over for Tim Allen, and the internet exploded. Not because of politics, but because Disney never explained why. They just assumed fans would take it. But this isn't 1999 anymore. Fans ask questions, and when the answers feel like boardroom decisions instead of creative ones, they check out. Even Evans looked uncomfortable doing press. He tried to defend the movie, sure, but you could tell his heart wasn't in it. And let's not ignore the Marvel situation, because oh boy, that's where things get really spicy. What used to be the golden goose of the entire Disney empire is now an overcooked turkey. Remember when each Marvel movie felt like an event? Now they feel like homework. Miss one episode of a Disney Plus series, and suddenly you're reconfused during a $250 million film. That's not fun. That's not magic. That's a mess. Actors have started to admit it too. Elizabeth Olsen, Wanda herself, literally said she watched all of the Marvel shows because she can keep up. Brie Larson, when asked at D23 if she'd continue as Captain Marvel, gave a deadpan. I don't know. Does anyone want me to? That's not fan hype energy. That's burnout, and it's coming from inside the house. Then there's the VFX scandal. Multiple whistleblowers came forward saying Disney and Marvel were pressuring visual effects artists to deliver impossible work under impossible deadlines. And when the final products looked rushed, they blamed the artists. One senior animator even admitted that working for Disney was soul-crushing, with tighter budgets and more demands than ever before. How did we get here? Here's how Disney became too big to fail. And when that happens, companies stop trying. They assume we'll keep paying, keep subscribing, keep watching, even if they serve us mediocrity wrapped in gold-plated nostalgia. But the fans have caught on. Look at the box office. Look at the backlash. Look at how excited people are to see studios like A24, Illumination, or even DreamWorks outshine Disney in areas it used to dominate. Beautiful film, great music, talented cast. But instead of supporting it in theaters, Disney shoved it onto streaming after a short run. It was in until TikTok resurrected. We don't talk about Bruno, that Disney realized they had gold. Why? Because their marketing team was so busy promoting soulless remakes and Marvel filler that they forgot to support original content with, soul. Then there's the Star Wars mess. Oh, Star Wars. Once the crown jewel of epic storytelling, now a tangled mess of prequels, retcons, and canceled projects. We got Daisy Ridley back. Cool, but we've also gotten over a dozen Star Wars shows in the last few years, and most people can't remember half of them. Pedro Pascal's face is under a helmet 90% of the time, and half the episodes of The Mandalorian feel like side quests in a video game. The magic, it's flickering. And through all of this, the human toll is rising. Animators are burning out. Writers are being replaced by AI tools and boardroom experiments. Cast members are afraid to speak out, and fans are more divided than ever. Not because they hate the stories, but because they feel betrayed. These were the stories that raised us. These were the worlds we escaped to. And now, Now their corporate assets squeeze dry for shareholder meetings. Even kids are noticing. When a generation raised on Frozen starts saying, "Can we watch something else?" You've got a problem. When the behind-the-scenes documentaries are more interesting than the actual movies, you've got a crisis. Disney's not just losing its audience, it's losing its identity. And yet, there is a weird kind of hope in all this. Because the backlash, it means people still care. If we truly didn't care, we wouldn't complain. We'd just move on. But fans are still making memes, writing essays, producing better fan edits than Disney's actual trailers. That means there's still a heartbeat, still a flicker of the old magic buried deep inside the corporate mess. Will Disney listen? That's the question. Or will they keep treating their audience like numbers on a spreadsheet instead of people who just want good stories again? It would be easy to blame one person for Disney's downfall. And let's be honest, Bob Chapek was kind of asking for it. When he took over as CEO, it didn't take long for things to get weird. The man basically turned Disney into a vending machine. Insert IP, press button, collect half-baked sequel. Creative leaders started disappearing. Animation departments were downsized. And during the whole Scarlett Johansson lawsuit, Chapek acted like it was just another Tuesday. Let us not forget that moment. When Scarlett sued Disney for releasing Black Widow on streaming and basically slashing her box office bonuses. And what did Disney do? They tried to make her look greedy. In public. That was the moment many fans realized. Oh, wow, the House of Mouse doesn't protect its stars anymore. They just protect their stock price. Even longtime Marvel diehards were like, wait a minute. She carried the franchise for a decade, and this is how they treat her. Not cool. Actors began to notice. Directors began to walk. Remember when Patty Jenkins was announced to direct a Star Wars movie, then quietly vanished from the schedule? Or when Damon Lindelof was developing a whole new Jedi-era film, only to be dropped with no explanation? This isn't just creative turnover. This is chaos behind closed doors, dressed up in press releases. And look at how many stars are just done. Chris Evans, gone. Robert Downey Jr., retired from the MCU Scarlett lawsuit. Even Oscar Isaac, who crushed it as Moon Knight, seems more interested in theater these days. Tom Holland might come back as Spider-Man, but he's also hinted he's exhausted. When your biggest names would rather do indie projects or stage plays than return to your billion-dollar franchise, something's wrong. Then there's the streaming disaster. Disney Plus was supposed to be the golden ticket. Every Marvel, Pixar, and Star Wars property in one place. And at first, it worked. WandaVision broke the internet. The Mandalorian gave us Baby Yoda and made Star Wars feel alive again. But then the floodgates opened. Suddenly, there were 10 Marvel shows in production, all overlapping, and none of them could stick the landing. Viewers were exhausted. Ratings dropped. Storylines collapsed under the weight of needing to connect everything to everything else. And now, Disney Plus is losing subscribers. Bob Iger, back in the CEO seat, openly said the content strategy was diluted and overloaded. Translation, they finally realized quality might actually matter more than quantity. Who would have thought? Meanwhile, Pixar, the heart and soul of Disney's animation crown, has taken blow after blow. Elemental barely made a ripple. The studio that gave us Up, Inside Out, and Toy Story now feels like it is being forced to churn out whatever idea survives the corporate filter. There's a reason why, when Turning Red dropped on Disney Plus, fans were like, wait, this is actually good, because it had voice, it had something real to say, and it wasn't afraid to be weird. But those risks are rare now. Disney has become afraid of making something divisive, even if it's meaningful. They want safe, they want proven formulas, they want IP that sells lunchboxes in China. And when you design art by committee, you get movies that technically function, but feel totally soulless. Just look at the audience reactions online. It's not anger, it's disappointment. The kind that hits deep because people wanted to love this stuff. And let's talk about fans, the ones who built Disney into the behemoth it is today, not with dollars, but with obsession. The fan artists, the theory makers on Reddit, the content creators on TikTok. These people used to worship at the altar of Mickey. Now, they're roasting Disney in 4K, making parody trailers, calling out recycled plot points, dragging cheap VFX. The love isn't gone, it's just fractured. And even diehard defenders are starting to fold. When people who once argued passionately that Rise of Skywalker was misunderstood are now saying, yeah, okay, this is getting bad. You know the foundation is cracking? You can only gaslight fans for so long before they pack up and walk out of the theater. Or worse, meanwhile, in a plot twist no one saw coming, smaller studios are eating Disney's lunch. A24 is making emotionally devastating films that feel. Illumination is pumping out hits like the Super Mario Bros. Movie with half the budget and twice the joy. And DreamWorks. Yeah, DreamWorks just came out of nowhere with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and reminded everyone what actual character-driven storytelling looks like. And what's Disney doing in response? Announcing sequels. Frozen 3, Toy Story 5, Zoot. So they just keep recycling last year's work and praying the teacher doesn't notice. But the audience notices, the box office notices, the magic is wearing off. Even Disney adults, the hardcore fans with the annual passes and mouse ear tattoos, are starting to voice their frustration. Rising ticket prices, pay-per-ride features, long lines, half-baked attractions. The parks used to be the ultimate escape. Now they feel like luxury scams with a sprinkle of nostalgia. And through it all, Disney still can't decide what it wants to be. A content factory, a theme park empire, a tech company with a streaming platform, or a legacy storyteller. Right now, it's trying to be all of them, and failing at each. But here's the thing. It's not too late. Deep down, the talent is still there. The storytellers are waiting. The audience is still hungry. And the actors, the real heart of Disney's magic, still believe in these characters. Florence Pugh didn't join Marvel to be mediocre. Oscar Isaac didn't sign on for Moon Knight to be forgotten. These are artists who want to tell great stories. They just need a studio willing to back vision instead of spreadsheets. And maybe that's the next chapter. Maybe Disney hits rock bottom and learns. Maybe they stop treating fans like data. Maybe they remember that creativity doesn't scale the same way profits do. Maybe they go back to what made them magical in the first place. Taking risks, trusting artists, believing that good stories told honestly always win. Until then, yeah, Disney kinda sucks right now. But if the right people wake up, and the right stars speak out, maybe, just maybe, we'll get our happy ending after all.